Good morning. Welcome to the Outdoor Archives. Managed to make it out another beautiful fall morning. Looks like our November's been really mild this year, which is really nice. It's really great to be out here. Not too hot, not too cold. And work's been cooperating as well, so I've been able to kind of get a couple mornings to come out here and do what it is I do. So for today, what I've got is a inexpensive canister stove I wanted to show you. I've actually had it for quite some time, and I've used it a few times. And you know, for the price point, I thought it was something that my subscribers would be interested in. So I brought it with me today, and I figured the best way to demonstrate is to actually come out here, cook a nice breakfast out here in the woods, show you the stove, and give you my thoughts on it. So I'm going to find a nice place to get set up here, and we'll be back shortly, so stay tuned. Well, I think this is a great spot here. Got a nice branch here that's fallen down, a big log that I can set up on, and nice clearing here, a bunch of trees to hang things on if I need to. So this is where we'll do the review. Okay guys, that's the stove there. Comes with this pretty nice pouch here. I'm going to open it up. Okay, so you see it's all folded up, and you notice this is obviously a bit of a different design than you're used to seeing. A lot of canister stoves sit right on top of the canister itself, while this one has its own base and has this little fixture that will screw into the canister itself. So I guess that there's going to be a couple of advantages to this. One is that changing the canister is going to be a little bit easier. If you've got a pot on here and it runs out of fuel, you can just unscrew the canister here and plug the new one in, no problems. And I guess the other one would be that it's got such a low center of gravity and a wide base that you can actually cook a large pot on here, and there's going to be a lot less worry of it tipping. So those are the things I kind of like about it. So guys, for comparison, I just want to show you my GSI stove. So this is going to sit up about this high, which is, you know, really going to change the center of gravity, especially if you got like a really tall, narrow pot. As well as that, you see that the base is just a little bit wider as well. So all those things combined, I think, are going to, you know, make this a much more stable stove, if nothing else. So let's put it to the test. You see here, has the fitting and just screws right in here. Okay, so you see here, there's a little igniter, so let's try it out. Great. Going off a lot of heat. And let's get my coffee going. Okay, so there is an adjustment here on the canister. Pretty smooth. The water's almost boiling. Okay guys, I think this is actually about as quiet as this GSI stove, which I'm really impressed by. I forgot to mention that this stove cost me $14 shipped. And that, my friends, is a good price for this stove. Looks like we're out of fuel, my friends. Luckily, I come prepared. I knew this one was getting pretty close. So this is another advantage here. I've ran out of fuel. So I just unscrew this. Could leave my pot and or whatever food I have on. Pop the new one back on. Okay. Okay, I stand corrected. This one is definitely louder than my GSI. I guess because we were running out of power. I'm just going to let this simmer. Okay, my friends. The best review, in my opinion, of something like this is to actually use it to cook something. So we boiled water, which, yeah, big deal. Everybody does that. I'm going to cook some breakfast. I've got some sausages here. I've got an egg, and I've got a frying pan. So this is one of the biggest pans I have. It's about, I don't know, 7 inches in diameter. Fits no problem, and it's pretty stable. So I'm going to get the pan nice and warm here. It's steaming already, so I guess it can't be. We're almost there. So I'm going to cook up some sausages. Yeah, it didn't take long to warm up the pan, let me tell you. And an egg as well. Turn this down. Yeah, the control here, guys, it's really, really good. So, really impressed by the stove so far. Guys, one thing I want to mention about this stove, if you watched, I did a video back in the winter where I made, I don't know, I made some breakfast. I'll put a link in here somewhere to it anyway. But anyways, it was a cold day, a little bit breezy in the winter, and I had cooked some breakfast on the stove, or I think it was coffee actually, and it was breezy, and I noticed that this stove was quite affected by the wind. It actually slowed it down quite a bit. So that's one thing you do need to be aware of. You probably want to have a windscreen with you, or be prepared to improvise one out here, because it is definitely more affected by the wind than some of the other stoves. Alright, let's get these out of here, served up. So guys, there it is. Alright, see how these are cooked? Quite nicely. Quite nicely. Coffee's still nice and warm. Oh. Wow. So it actually did an amazing job cooking breakfast. The regulator for the heat works really well. You can really dial it into the temperature you want. The quality of the materials seems to be pretty well made. I mean, it's a well-made stove for the price. I'm going to be honest, I had the stove for about 6 months, and I was kind of debating, should I do this review, should I not? I don't want people to order the stove and then it falls apart. So I've kind of put it through its paces. I've used it a few times, and it is, you know what, it lives up to the billing. One regret I do have is that the seller that I got it from on Amazon no longer sells them, so I can't post you a link because I don't know exactly what it is, but it is a Dpower stove. So I've checked on eBay, and you can still find them on eBay. So if you're interested, you can find one there, and they're still pretty inexpensive, which is good. Well, I think I'm going to finish my breakfast, my coffee, and I'll give you some final thoughts. Well guys, so I'll give you a close-up of the stove. So here's where the pot sits. These fold in. Okay, and here, these are the footprint here, so that sits on the ground. Some braided line here, and your hookup, and this is your regulator here. Okay. So I've had the stove, I don't know, about 5.5, 6 months, maybe a little more. And all in all, I do like the stove. It does work well. And especially if you're budget minded and don't want to spend, $40 on an expensive stove, this one works quite well. So what I really like about it is, because of its wide footprint, it's got a really low center of gravity, so it's going to be a lot less tipsy with pots, or especially the taller pots and things like that. The piezo igniter here works really well, and so does the regulator, so you can really simmer down and cook your food appropriately that way. Now, one thing I did buy this for is I wanted to try, I know there's adapters available for here, so instead of hooking into one of those isobutane canisters that you have to buy at REI or wherever, you can actually hook it into just one of those long butane bottles, and it's going to be a lot cheaper if that works. So that's something I do want to try. I don't think you'd be able to do it with the other stoves that sit on top of the canister, because that thing is so long and narrow, it's just gonna tip over anytime you put anything on it. So I think this stove would be suited to that, and it's something I am going to try. Now, this is not the smallest stove in the world, but it does compact like so, and you've got the braided line to deal with here as well. So that's it there. A woodpecker going right here in front of me. Okay, so now when you compare that to something like this, you see it's significantly bigger and it weighs a little bit more. So if you're counting grams, no, this is not the smallest stove. But with a little bit of care, you can definitely nest this in with some of your pots and pans and still take it backpacking with you, no problem. So some of the negatives I found about the stove, in my winter trip, especially that I took, I think it was back in February or March of this year, it was the first time I used the stove, and although it did work, it was super slow boiling water, and I figured out that it really needed a windscreen. When I built a windscreen around it, you could see that the water boiled much quicker. So this is probably not all that wind resistant, compared to some other stoves, but you bring a little windscreen, or you improvise one out here, and that's just fine. The pouch that this comes with, I mean, although it's a good pouch, I don't know that I would throw this in my backpack in that pouch and just let it sit there, because I mean, there's these things that are going to poke through the pouch, or possibly get bent or damaged, and then that could render your stove unusable. So if you aren't going to nest it, I would find something a little bit more robust to put it in. Other than that, I'd say the stove is perfect, especially for low budget. If you're trying to save some money, $14 shipped to my door was great. So I hope you've enjoyed the review. I've loved coming out here this morning, as I always do. This is a breath of fresh air in more ways than one, just to get out here, get out of the office, get into here, just enjoy the day. So if you do like the review, please give me a like down below, and why don't you write in the comments, what do you think of this stove? If you have any experience with it, good or bad, I'd like to know. Or if you just have an opinion on it, put it down there and we'll discuss it. So thanks again, and if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. There's new videos that I put out every week. So we'll see you in the next video.